We're joined in the studio by the voice of boxing, Adam Smith, for a roundup of all the latest stories. Adam, sir, we are going to start with a conversation around the huge fight over the weekend. Unbelievable stuff, wasn't it?
It was unbelievable. It was one of the most brutal fights I think I've ever seen at ringside. Frank Warren has promoted for nearly 50 years, and I don't think he's ever seen anything quite like it. He was talking about, obviously in America, the third fight between Wilder and Fury as being one of the great roller coasters. We had AJ and Klitschko at Wembley with 90,000 on a phenomenal night back in 2017. But you think of the heavyweights, and I don't remember something quite as savage as... it was exhilarating, but it was at times even quite hard to watch.
Painful.
It was like a Rocky film. It was almost like not real. And the blood on our notes at ringside, it was extraordinary. It was intense. Darren Barker said before the first bell, this is going to be absolute carnage. And we'd had all the build-up, all the hype, the 50-50 talk, and often in boxing there's hyperbole and there's a promotional sell, but you didn't need it with this one. 18,212 broke the record of an indoor audience at boxing in this country, which was phenomenal. The atmosphere was at fever pitch. The card was terrific. There were some great stories on there. Zach Chelly with a monumental win. I thought Jack Rafferty boxed really well. Brad Ray, fantastic performance. Some really, really good fights as well. Majid and Gwyn. And then it all set up for the big one. And the big boys just didn't disappoint at any second of the fight. There was a knockdown after, 12 seconds? And you thought that Dubois just was going to unravel. And back he came and boxed quite beautifully under Don Charles's instruction, I thought, from sort of the fourth round onwards. And the courage that the pair of them showed was off the charts.
He did so well to recover from those two knockdowns.
Of course. What a terrible start. And especially someone who'd had so much criticism about his mental state. What sort of Daniel Dubois is going to turn up? Would it be the one that went in and destroyed AJ or got through the Miller and Hrgovic fights? Or would it be the Joe Joyce or the Usyk one that didn't get through? And people were saying, and I think really unfairly actually, that is he up for this? Is he strong enough from a mental point of view? But he proved so much on Saturday night to haul himself up off the canvas twice, to keep calm in the corner, to listen to Don. He's obviously got this great relationship with Don Charles. His dad was also there. A couple of slaps. Remember that when Ronnie Davis slapped Eubank against Collins? Yeah, and it woke him up and it got him back. But I thought he boxed really well behind the jab, and ultimately it was a boxing contest rather than a sort of gladiatorial fight, which is what Wardley tried to turn it into. And the boxer came through, and I thought he just got better and better, Daniel.
Do you know what, Smudge, right? So, for me, the fight was better than the Eubank Conor Benn fight. I thought it was one of the best fights I've seen in a long, long time.
It was.
As you said, it was brutal, right? But I'm going to fast forward to the ending, because you mentioned there at the top, I found it really uncomfortable the way the fight ended, because there was a situation where he came out, Fabio, for one of the rounds, and he was stumbling all over the place before.
The legs went
and the nose and everything. Yeah. What's your opinion in terms of when the fight was stopped? Because I thought it should have been stopped maybe a round before it actually got stopped.
There's a huge amount of sort of uproar about it. People saying it should have been stopped 1, 2, 3 rounds before.
Yeah,
to the likes of Barry McGuigan, great people who are saying that you've got to look after your fighter. Look, it's hindsight, isn't it?
Of course,
we can look back at it, but at the time, I felt that it had gone on a little too long. I thought that I asked the boys, I think, 2 or 3 minutes before, whether they felt that Fabio maybe should be pulled out or something should sort of curtail it. It was getting just a little bit uncomfortable, I thought, to watch sort of between your fingers. And as much as there was that would he find a shot to get out of jail like he did against Justice Hooney, like he did against Parker late, was there that? But I think the difference was that the legs weren't there.
No.
And I think when he came over and had that checkup on the nose and the legs looked wobbly, I think Ben Davison said that they didn't see that in the corner, and maybe if they had, it would have been different. But yeah, they might have just thought he never went down, Wardley, which was unbelievable.
Amazing.
And he's never been down in his professional career. He took a lot of punishment, and I think maybe a round or two earlier it could have been stopped. But look, ultimately, great corner, Ben Lee, Robert Hodgins in there. They know Fabio very well, and they obviously wanted to give him as much opportunity as possible. But yeah, I thought it was it went on too long. However, it was so brutal, so savage, so sort of entertaining for the neutrals, for the crowd. You sort of didn't want it to stop. But of course, the health and safety of the fighters is paramount. And I think maybe save him for another day, 3 or 4 minutes before. But look, it happened. Fabio was fine. He was back with his daughter and his family afterwards, and he's going to rest up, and I'm sure he'll come again and probably want that rematch at some stage. But they need a long rest.
Yeah. Do you know, I had a good conversation out there before the show with Don Charles, because he was here earlier, and he spoke about the gap between the two boxers. Now, what Fabio's done in a short space of time is incredible, but he said where they felt that Daniel was going to win was the fundamentals of boxing. Now, Daniel had a really good amateur career, Fabio didn't, and Don spoke about those crucial years in terms of being a boxer. You can't get those years back. You can't make that gap up, which is why when Daniel went in there with Fabio, Don Charles said there was only going to be one winner because of the fundamentals that Daniel's managed to accumulate over such a long space of time.
Benji, that's a great point, and it makes his wins over Justice Hooney, who was a fantastic amateur and a very good boxer, accomplished, and Joe Parker, even better, Fabio Wardley. But I did feel that maybe Daniel Dubois would box before the fight. Everyone was saying, it'll be over in 2 or 3 rounds, whatever. And I just wondered whether Don would have a plan, because he was a brilliant amateur boxer. He turned professional young, Daniel, but he had that foundation. And we saw against AJ, he got that jab going, and when he's got confidence, Dubois, he boxes really well, and I thought that he did ever so well with that jab on Saturday night, and Don's right, that is the goal, and fundamentally it was a boxer against a fighter in the end, and he started to take control, and I think round after round it was difficult to give Fabio much after the knockdowns, obviously the 10-8 rounds, and while he was competitive and there were moments 6 and 7 you thought maybe, but after that it was just one-way traffic.
Dubois has been revitalised recently. Do you think that there could be an opportunity to see him back in the ring, maybe against Usyk? You mentioned the Usyk fight earlier. Do you think that we could see a world where they end up in the ring again together? I
don't think so. Not with Alexander Usyk. I think Usyk is the greatest of the generation. He's had 2 wins over Dubois. I don't see the point of a trilogy there. I know Tyson Fury is desperate to get Usyk back in the ring after his 2 defeats. AJ had 2 defeats against Usyk, and he's joined his camp. So I think Usyk is, Darren and I talk about it a lot, a generational superstar. But for Daniel, he's 28. He has a world title back, 2-time heavyweight champion, which is fantastic. He's always in exciting fights. It's a really good story, back with Don Charles. And there's a bright future. Maybe the rematch, maybe against Moses Atauma, which is obviously the fight that the British public are baying to see now, crying out for, because if Fabio Wardley had won, that would have been harder to make because they're the same camp. So the fact that Dubois won means that Atauma can fight him, and at some point in 26 or early 27 we want to see that fight.
Do you know what, Smudge? I like Daniel Dubois. I really like it. Certainly after the AJ fight I thought, but do you think maybe he's better against a puncher? When I say puncher, you've got AJ, you've got Fabio Wardley. He's put in 2 really good performances. Hrgovic he was good against as well. But when you put him in the likes of Usyk or even Atauma, that's where he might become unstuck.
You know my feelings about Moses Atauma.
Yeah, because
I think he's absolutely phenomenal, and I think it's only a matter of time before he's crowned a world champion. He's a southpaw. That's a problem. He's fast. He hits hard. His timing, his judgment at distance, his movement, everything is terrific. His IQ. He's young. He's disciplined. He's hungry, and he's got huge power. I mean, I think he's the complete package. But him and Dubois is a fascinating fight, though, still, of course. And Dubois is the world champion. Now, could he go another route? Of course. There's lots of options. There's Agit Kabayel, who's waiting for an opportunity. And there's a long list of heavyweights that are in this pot that Frank Warren's got, a few coming in from America, the likes of sort of Wilder still around, Andy Ruiz. There's plenty of options. So we want to see these big fights. But Saturday night, I agree with you, one of the greatest fights I've seen.
Wow.
Last year, for me, it was Eubank Ben. This year, it's got to be Dubois Wardley. It's going to take something spectacular to beat that.
Right, Adam, let's move on now to another big fight this Saturday, which sees Dave Allen face Filip Hrgovic live on DAZN. Allen will be headlining his hometown of Doncaster. Hrgovic has lost just once against Daniel Dubois 2 years ago. Since then, he's responded by beating British duo Joe Joyce and David Adelaide. How do you feel this is going to go for Dave Allen? It's a big test for him.
It's a massive test. I mean, Dave's got his home support in Doncaster. He's got his stadium fight, but he's in with a very hard man in Filip Hrgovic, El Animal. And he's been revitalised as well under Abel Sanchez out in the States, Hrgovic. So he's looking good. He's back in form. He was bouncing shots off Daniel Dubois in their fight in Saudi, and then Dubois just stuck with him and beat him. And yeah, the only defeat, although he was a bit lucky against Zhilei Zhang, but it's a hard one this for Dave Allen. But, you know, Dave's got plenty of ability. He'll be in fantastic shape under Jamie Moore. As I said, he's got that Donny crowd. So look, I can't wait for Saturday night. But yeah, it's a hard ask.
I love Dave Allen. I hope he wins this fight. I think it's going to be hard because Makhmudov, I know he's won since then, but Makhmudov was not exactly hard to hit, and he got beaten that one. But this one, Hrgovic, because I remember we had a Tomer on this fight on this show, and he spoke about that's who he would have liked to have fought next, Hrgovic.
Hrgovic is the type of guy that you don't want to meet on a dark street corner. He's a hard, tough, strong man, and he can box. But Dave Allen can box. He's got a fantastic corner. As I said, the fans will be cheering him on. We can't wait to see what happens.